I'm Felicia,
And I'm Ian.
and we are the Paranormal Lovers.
Hello, paranormal dudes, dudettes, and dudays. Welcome back to another episode of the Paranormal Lovers.
Hey guys,
Hey, guys.
thank you for joining us back for another week, episode 66.
Ooh, spooky.
Get your kicks on Route 66. This is not going to be spooky at all.
No?
No, it's barely paranormal. It's a little paranormal, but not a lot.
Yeah.
What'd you love about this week?
I think you know what I loved about this
I
week.
do. I think we have the same thing that we loved about this week.
I love doing a episode
Oh, no, we don't.
with Chrissy from Paranormal Misfits.
That was
Thank
a
you
lot
for
of
having us
fun.
on your show.
That was fun.
That was really fun.
Yeah, we'll drop that episode whenever it comes out. Whenever she drops it, we'll drop it at the same time, so you guys will get a little extra episode from us too.
Yeah.
It's an interesting one.
It is interesting.
It was interesting.
You have to wait and see what it's about. So I don't know if she's released it yet. So.
No, I don't know.
What did you love about this week, baby?
Well, I think you should know what I loved about this week.
What's that?
Talking about it for weeks. 3 days ago was your 10-year sober birthday.
Yeah.
Pew, 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 pew. Yes. So 3 days ago, April 2nd, was Ian's 10-year sober birthday. Do you want to talk about that at all real quick? Give your testimony for
sure.
just a real little quick brief testimony.
When I drank for what 15 years?
I don't know.
It was around 15 years, and it almost killed me. I was getting ready to I was under a bridge and I was on like a week-long bender, and I was getting ready to hop a train to try to go out west and become a hobo. And luckily I didn't. I had passed out near the tracks, not on the tracks. Thank God. But so yeah, this little voice inside me said, and it said it just like this. It said, "Get your ass up and go home. Go get your life together." And I was like, where did that voice come from? That's not me. It sounded like me. It sounded like a sober me, but it was not me at the time. So luckily I listened to the voice and went home, and about 2 weeks later I went to AA.
Yeah.
Became a sober living person.
Yeah. And then a few months later, you start working at ConMet and We Meet, and
Yeah.
you get a truck, and
My whole life turned around.
yeah, your life.
And it was fairly quick too. It was within like a month. So
It really is amazing. I went with you quite a few times to AA.
Yeah.
It was fun. It's always that group that you went to. They were all a little crazy.
It was some great people.
Some great
I love
people.
every single one of them.
But of course, I'm like, well, how can I incorporate this milestone? This is a huge milestone. 10 years is a big damn deal.
Sure.
So like, what could I do in an episode to honor this anniversary?
Yeah.
And I wasn't really sure. I found a topic and I was like, well, that's not really paranormal or anything spooky. Started a little research and I was like, oh, yeah, no, he was weird. He was real weird. So this week, we're going to look at the life and legacy of the co-founder of Alcoholics Anonymous, Bill W.
Nice. Old Bill.
Old Bill from wikipedia.org, which is my main and only source for this episode. Literally 13 pages from Wikipedia. I didn't need anything else.
Yeah, for sure.
AA is an international mutual fund fellowship. AA is an international international mutual aid fellowship with about 2 million members worldwide belonging to AA groups, associations, organizations, cooperatives, and fellowships of alcoholics helping other alcoholics achieve and maintain sobriety, end quote.
Man, they save so many people's lives.
They really do save people's lives. And I've told you this before, like, there are AA, like, affected me, right? Like,
Sure.
I'm not an alcoholic. Yeah, I have like a weed addiction, but like worse addictions out there.
It does more than just help you with
But it's almost like therapy.
help you with sobriety.
And there are a lot of good quotes.
Teaches you how to
And
live with it.
it does. And it can be applied not just to alcoholism or addiction, it can be applied to mental health,
Sure.
stuff like that. I loved it. It was great. Oh, sorry.
Easy.
I inhaled some spit. So, William Griffith Wilson was born on November 26, 1895, in East Dorset, Vermont. He was born at the Mount Aeolus Inn and Tavern, the home and business of his parents, Emily and Gilman Wilson. Just a few weeks before Bill was born, his alcoholic grandfather caught a sermon by an itinerant evangelist. Moved by what he heard in that sermon, William C. Wilson climbed to the top of Mount Aeolus where he had a spiritual experience. Once he made his way back down the mountain, he'd never touched another drop of alcohol.
Nice.
Both of Bill's parents abandoned Bill and his younger sister to be raised by their strict maternal grandparents. Gilman allegedly left for a business trip and never returned, while Emily left the state to practice medicine. Bill struggled a lot in school. He was angry and rebellious. One summer, he spent weeks making a boomerang to throw at local wildlife.
Right on.
And I'm like, that's some serial killer shit right there. But somehow, instead of turning into a serial killer, Bill W. went on to become the captain of his high school football team and principal violinist in the school orchestra.
Wow.
Did you know that Bill W. played the violin?
Didn't know that.
I didn't either. At the age of 17, Bill was dealt a terrible blow when his high school sweetheart, Bertha Bamford, died from surgical complications. This understandably sent Bill into a bout of depression. In the summer of 1913, Bill was sailing with friends on Emerald Lake when he met Lois Burnham. Lois put up with some bullshit from this man, okay?
Yeah.
She really did. Like, mad respect to Lois.
Yeah.
Imagine being the woman who is married to the man who ends up co-founding Alcoholics Anonymous.
Yeah. It's a lot to deal with.
Mm-hmm. In 1915, the couple became engaged. After graduating high school, Bill attempted to go to college a couple of times. He enrolled at Norwich University, but dropped out in his second semester due to his mental health. He went back the next year, but was soon suspended. He was suspended with a group of students involved in a hazing incident.
Oh, no.
And it was one of those situations where no one wanted to rat out who it was, so the whole class got suspended.
Right.
And he was one of them. In 1916, Bill's class was mobilized as part of the Vermont National Guard. In 1917, Bill was commissioned as an artillery officer. While training in Massachusetts, Bill and the other officers were often invited to dinner by the local residents. It was at one such party that Bill had his first beer, which had no effect on him. However, at another of these parties a few weeks later, Bill had a few cocktails and felt that he had found the quote-unquote elixir of life.
Right.
Quote, even that first evening, I got thoroughly drunk, and within the next time or two, I passed out completely. But as everyone drank hard, not much was made of that.
Sure.
End quote. And Bill really used it. He was shy. Like, he was really kind of a shy guy, but when he would drink, like, inhibitions went out the window. He was just a fun-loving, happy-go-lucky party guy when he was drunk. Like, yep. He wasn't anxious. He didn't feel uncomfortable. He was just like, woo.
Yeah. Used it to socialize.
Used it to socialize. Bill and Lois got married right before Bill was deployed to fight in World War I on January 24th, 1918. After his service, Bill and Lois lived in New York. Bill went to law school, but he did not graduate as he got drunk and didn't pick up his diploma.
Yeah. I knew that one.
Idiot.
Yeah.
So he got a job as a stock speculator, and him and Lois would travel the country, going from company to company for his work. Lois was hoping that all the traveling and business meetings would help curb his drinking, but Bill's drinking would end up costing him his business and reputation.
Yeah.
Oh, and that says 10,933. Nope, in 1933, Bill was admitted 4 times to the Charles B. Towns Hospital for drug and alcohol addictions. He was under the care of Dr. William Duncan Silkworth, who had a theory about alcoholism. Quote, Silkworth's theory was that alcoholism was a matter of both physical and mental control. A craving, the manifestation of a physical allergy or the physical inability to stop drinking once started, and an obsession of the mind to take the first drink, end quote. Bill was like, all right, great, that's cool, but it's not really helping me right now.
Yeah.
While at the hospital, he was told that he would either likely die or end up being hospitalized with what is commonly called wet brain.
Yeah.
Yeesh. In November of 1934, Bill went to see his old drinking buddy, Ebby Thatcher. Bill was surprised to find that his friend had been sober for several weeks. Ebby credits his recovery to the Christian group Oxford Group. Bill was intrigued by the group, but it didn't help with his drinking either. Shortly after his visit to Ebby, Bill was again admitted into the hospital. Ebby came to visit Bill in the hospital and appealed to him to give himself over to a deity to help him get sober. Now, when I was doing the research, it says that Bill began having symptoms of delirium tremens, which is a rapid onset of confusion, which happens a lot with people who are going through detox.
Yeah.
And then the next sentence states they also had given Bill belladonna.
Oh, wow.
Was he having withdrawals or was he having belladonna?
Nightshade.
Which is a hallucinogen for anybody who does not know.
And it's a nightshade, so it's
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's like illegal in the US
it's
now.
like a poison.
But in the 30s, they were like, here's some cocaine and here's some belladonna.
Woo.
It was during this time, though, when Bill had been given the belladonna, that he had the experience that would not only change his life, but that of millions of people across the world. Quote, according to Wilson, while lying in bed,
Thank the witches.
according to Wilson, while lying in bed, depressed and despairing, he cried out, I'll do anything, anything at all. If there be a God, let him show himself. Then he then had the sensation of a bright light, a feeling of ecstasy, and a new serenity. He never drank again for the rest of his life. Wilson described his experience to Silkworth, who told him, something has happened to you I don't understand, but you had better hang on to it, end quote.
Right.
Bill joined the Oxford Group, and although none of the members got sober, Bill managed to keep his sobriety. He still struggled a lot, obviously.
Sure.
Especially work-related stuff.
Mm-hmm.
During a business trip to Ohio, Bill realized that in order for him to stay sober, he needed to help someone else get and stay sober. He called around a bit and was finally introduced to Robert Smith, aka Dr. Bob.
Nice.
Another member of the Oxford Group, who would also go on to be the other co-founder of Alcoholics Anonymous.
Yeah.
Bill explained Silkworth's theory to Bob and also told him about his spiritual experience. Quote, Smith was familiar with the tenets of the Oxford Group, and upon hearing of Wilson's experience, began to pursue the spiritual remedy for his malady with a willingness that he had never before been able to muster. After a brief relapse, he sobered, never to drink again, end quote.
That's cool.
Bill and Bob
mm-hmm.
I fucking love it so much. Bill and Bob began working with other alcoholics in Akron, Ohio. After setting up the basis of their new program in Ohio, Bill went back to New York and started a branch there. By 1938, roughly 100 people in Akron and New York had been able to achieve sobriety. It was in 1938 that the members decided that they wanted to spread the program to help other people. They decided to write a book and they asked Bill to author it. It was originally named Alcoholics Anonymous,
The big book.
with the program taking over the name with time. Now the book is lovingly referred to as the Big Book. In the Big Book, they lay out the 12 steps and 12 traditions, which are, quote, a set of spiritual guidelines to ensure the survival of individual AA groups, end quote. And I didn't know that there was 12 steps and 12 traditions. I had always heard
Yeah.
about the 12 steps. I didn't know that there were traditions to go along with it.
Yeah.
In 1955, Bill turned the leadership of the program over to an elected board. In 1939, Bill and Marty Mann had visited a farm in Connecticut, which they would end up turning into what is now called High Watch Recovery Center. This is the first recovery center founded on the 12 steps.
Nice.
Bill wanted to make sure that the program stayed non-political. Thank God, because if politics had flowed into that room with the T-man and the C-man,
Yeah.
holy shit, it was bad enough without it.
Yeah.
God. In 1946, he wrote, quote, no AA group or member should ever, in such a way as to implicate AA, express any opinion on outside controversial issues, particularly those of politics, alcohol reform, or sectarian religion. The Alcoholics Anonymous programs, the Alcoholics Anonymous groups oppose no one. Concerning such matters, they can express no views whatever.
Yeah.
Reworded, this became AA's Tradition 10, end quote.
Yeah.
In his later years, Bill didn't attend as many meetings. When he did go to group, he wanted to be Bill the alcoholic, not Bill W., the co-founder of AA.
Yeah.
While he was able to give up alcohol, Bill did smoke his whole life, which led to emphysema and pneumonia. In the 60s, he was put on oxygen, but you know them old people with the oxygen tank smoking a cigarette?
Yeah.
Bill W.
Right.
Trying to blow his ass up. It would be noted by nurse James Dannenberg that Bill asked for a drink of whiskey 4 separate times in the last month of his life. And now usually I'm one of those people that if somebody's in hospice or, you know, a nursing home, they're terminal, they're going to die, let them have their cigarettes, let them have their drugs, let them have their drink.
Right.
But I could kiss James in the mouth for not giving Bill W. a drink.
Yeah.
Like, I think Bill would have been pissed if he had died and found out that somebody gave him alcohol right before he died.
Right.
Like, you motherfuckers.
Yeah.
At his death, Bill Wilson had been sober for 36 years.
Wow.
Bill was an advocate for the use of psychedelics
Nice.
to help overcome addictions and mental health issues.
Sure. I mean, why not?
On August 29th, 1956, Bill took his first medically supervised LSD trip. He would go on to do this several times, as well as to get his wife and his spiritual advisor, Father Ed Dowling, to partake as well. Bill felt like his experience with LSD broke down walls that were created by his ego. He believed that this could be a great benefit to those struggling with addiction. Bill stated, quote, it is a generally acknowledged fact in spiritual development that ego reduction makes the influx of God's grace possible. If, therefore, under LSD we can temporarily reduce so that we can better see what we are and where we are going, well, that might be of some help. The goal might become clear. So I consider LSD to be of some value to some people and particularly no damage to anyone. It will never take the place of existing means by which we can reduce the ego and keep it reduced, end quote.
Yeah.
Now, to be very clear, y'all, before y'all start running out onto the street corners and buying LSD, It's not what he was endorsing, and that's not what we're endorsing.
Right.
Bill W. was endorsing taking psychedelics in a safe, controlled, monitored environment,
Yep.
which is the same way I feel about a lot of drugs.
Yeah.
The stuff that indigenous people used to take, Jimson weed, morning glory seeds, and stuff like that, they're illegal now because people abuse them and don't take them the way they're meant to be taken with
Yeah.
safety and precautions in place.
Those kind of drugs aren't meant to be
They're not
taken
recreational.
recreationally.
They're spiritual drugs. They're not recreational.
Yeah.
And that was Bill. He had a team of people that were there to make sure that him, his wife, and the preacher who tripped on some LSD, which is just fucking wild to me, they were safe. So don't just
Sure.
go out and like start doing it. If you're really interested in these types of treatment plans,
Talk to your doctor.
I'm pretty sure Oregon and maybe Washington State, there's another state that has decriminalized all drugs.
Colorado.
And Oregon is currently doing research on psychedelics for the treatment of mental health. So look into that.
Yeah.
Okay. Find a doctor.
Yeah.
Don't just go find Jimmy Dick on the corner and get you some LSD and go
I think
rolling.
they've done ketamine with a lot more states than the others.
You can actually go online and get ketamine therapy that can get shipped to your door, and then you do like a ketamine. You take a dose of ketamine and do like therapy over the phone.
Yeah.
While you're on ketamine.
Which to alcoholics, one of the worst problems with alcoholics is their ego. And so these psychedelics can break that ego down and really help them out.
Yeah, he started talking about ego, and I was like, oh. Many times have I heard Ian talking about the ego?
Yep.
Bill also felt that only people who have quote unquote well developed super egos should try this.
Right.
So, unless you have a super ego, don't do it.
Yeah.
Also, to throw this out there, AA does not endorse this.
No.
Many AA groups believe in total sobriety and do not believe in using drugs to get off of drugs or alcohol.
Yep.
So, whatever.
They even have an NA, which is for drugs instead of alcohol.
Well, NA is Narcotics Anonymous, which is for drugs. But I feel like, and obviously this is a debate that's going to go around for centuries and centuries and centuries. There's a difference between narcotics and psychedelics. Big difference.
Yeah.
Big difference. But yes, they're just like, you shouldn't need a substance to get off of a substance, which I understand the thought process behind that. But I also know that sometimes people need an exit drug. It's just how it is.
And then there's Al-Anon too, for people that are living with alcoholics.
Supporters of alcoholics.
Yes.
People supporting alcoholics. And Al-Anon's great because they're not like, oh, well, you need to do this and this and this and this to make sure that they stay sober. They're like, their sobriety is their issue. You're there to support them, but you are not there to be a doormat and let them just walk all over you. So if you need to leave because they don't get sober, leave.
Yeah.
Al-Anon's great. I've never been, but I know people who have, so it's great.
Sure.
Now, Bill met a man named Abram Hoffer, who was a Canadian biochemist, physician, and psychiatrist who promoted megavitamin therapy. Abram told Bill about his theory. I can't fucking talk today, y'all. In my defense, I haven't eaten today, but that's like noon. But Abram told Bill about his theory on how niacin could be used as a mood stabilizer. Remember how I told you I started taking a B complex the other day?
Yeah.
Bill soon came to the belief himself that niacin could be, quote, the third leg on the stool, the physical to complement the spiritual and emotional, end quote. Bill had seen research that showed that patients who were given niacin had a better sobriety rate. He also claimed that niacin cured him of his depression and promoted the vitamin within the program and to the National Institute of Mental Health. Now, when he promoted it to the National Institute of Mental Health, he pissed off a whole lot of people at AA because he used the office and the letterhead of the organization to send this note promoting niacin
Huh.
to the National Institute of Mental Health. Yeah, he's a co-founder, but he's no longer a part of it.
Right.
There's an elected board that runs it now,
Yeah.
and they're like, "Mother, we told you we don't support taking substances to get off of substances. You son of a..." Yeah, they were mad, real
Right.
mad. Another reason why people at the organization had issues with Bill was because his spiritual practices. Do you know that Bill was a spiritualist?
Mm-mm.
Mm-hmm. Bill was a spiritualist and was very open about his beliefs. He claimed that during the writing of the Big Book, he had several spirits helping him write it.
Wow.
His main helper was a 15th century monk named Boniface.
Right on. That's cool.
Bill would also claim to have physical evidence of the spirit world, but never shared it with anyone else at AA. What they did share with people at AA was their spook room,
Spook
where
room.
they held seances via Ouija board.
Oh shit.
I was like,
That's cool.
Bill's a fucking spiritualist. Do you know what spiritualism is?
Just believes in spirits, right?
Yes, and the ability to communicate with the other side. It was real popular in the late 1800s, early 1900s when people would claim to be like mediums and go on tour and all that shit.
Yeah.
He was real big into that, which I was like,
That's cool.
what? That's why I was like, it doesn't really fit, but it does kind of fit.
Yeah, for sure.
Now, Bill was often called the life of the party, but when it came time for recognition, Bill refused. And this is because he wanted to keep up with the tradition of anonymity, which
Yeah.
is, I mean, it's literally called Alcoholics Anonymous.
Yeah, I
You're
mean that's
supposed
the
to
whole
be
basis of it.
anonymous, which is like, wow, we're here talking about Alcoholics Anonymous, but you don't hear us saying anybody else's name.
Yeah. Besides
Because,
my own. But yeah.
yeah. And Bill W., which people were pissed off about him being exposed
Yeah.
because he was anonymous until he died, and then the newspaper printed his full name, and he's the co-founder of AA. If that newspaper hadn't printed his obituary like that,
Nobody
we
unknown.
still wouldn't know who the co-founders of AA are.
Right.
Now, Bill was picked for an honorary degree from Yale, which he turned down because he didn't want to have to be in front of a crowd, anonymity.
Sure.
He also turned down an opportunity to be on the cover of Time magazine. They even offered to take a shot of him from behind, and he still said no.
Wow.
Because he didn't want to expose who he was.
Yeah.
Bill was known as, I love this, he is known as the synthesizer of ideas. He took threads of psychology, theology, and democracy and created a life-saving program. Quote, Aldous Huxley called him the greatest social architect of our century, and the Time magazine named Wilson on their Time 100 list of most important people of the 20th century.
For sure.
Wilson's self-description was a man who, because of his bitter experience, discovered slowly and through a conversion experience a system of behavior and a series of actions that work for alcoholics who want to stop drinking, end quote. In My Name is Bill, which is a book about the life of Bill W.,
Yeah.
Susan Cheever wrote, quote, Bill Wilson never held himself up as a model. He only hoped to help other people by sharing his own experience, strength, and hope. He insisted again and again that he was just an ordinary man. I don't know why I'm about to cry, end quote.
It's a powerful story.
It is powerful. Oh, yeah, it's I think I'm gonna cry because it's like if it wasn't for this man, we wouldn't be sitting here right now. So
sure.
And yeah, he wasn't great. I didn't put anything in here about it. I'll touch on it real quick. There was some controversy about a possible affair.
Mm-hmm.
There was a woman that was in his life for like 20, 30 years. And when he died, he left her like 10% of his estate. And then he left everything else to Lois.
Yeah.
So there was like drama about that. But I'm also kind of like of the mentality, like, I don't really fucking care what he's doing in his personal life.
Right.
Like, he created a system that helps millions of people.
Yeah.
And he was just an ordinary man. As he said, he was human. He made mistakes.
All of us do.
Lois stayed with his ass for years. Like,
Yeah.
mm. So the home that Bill and Lois shared from 1941 until his death in 1971 is named Stepping Stones and is located between Kadena and Bedford Hills in New York State. After Lois's death in 1988, it was turned over to her foundation, Stepping Stones Foundation. It has been designated as a National Historic Landmark and is now on the National Register of Historic Places. You can visit and tour the home by reservation.
That's cool.
So we'll have to take a trip to New York and go visit Bill, the home of Bill W. sometime so we can cry there.
Sure.
Because we probably will. So that, my friends, is the life and legacy of William Griffith Wilson, the co-founder of Alcoholics Anonymous.
That's
Man
cool.
who helped save my husband's life.
Yep.
And give me a great life today.
Sure.
So I hope you guys enjoyed that. I know it was something a little different, but I couldn't pass up doing something for 10 years, man.
I enjoyed it.
I hope you liked it. I hope you learned some new stuff about him. I know
I
you
did.
probably learned a lot about him in AA, but
Yeah,
I hope you learned some new stuff you didn't know about him.
for sure.
If you guys would like, head on over to Instagram and follow us at the Paranormal Lovers. You can send us an email at theparanormallovers@yahoo.com. You can see these videos on YouTube by searching for the Paranormal Lovers in the search bar. Head on over to our shop at the Paranormal Lovers at threadless.com to check out our merch. And I do believe we have a flash sale coming up this week, so you guys pay attention for that.
Flash sale. Bum, bum, bum.
And if you would like to support this podcast, head on over to patreon.com/paranormal lovers, where you can get these episodes early and get the Deadly Lovers on the $5 tier, our true crime podcast.
Yep.
Which we just recorded, and it made me a little sick to my stomach. It's fine.
Some horrible stuff on that channel.
Yeah, some real twisted people. Ian's not a big true crime guy. Now every week he's like, oh, Jesus.
Yeah, you get to watch me react.
It's a lot of him going, Jesus. Jesus. Which, I mean, valid. I understand.
Oops, son of a bitch.
Oops, some bitch. Some bitch. I kind of miss watching Twisted 420.
He's still on there.
Him and his
shout out to Richard
all the time. Oops, son of a bitch. All right, guys. Thank you for joining us this week. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Make sure you join us next week for Stairs in the Woods Part 2.
Part 2.
Part 2, and there might be another one, but we'll see. Part 2.
Yeah, we'll see.
Part 2. We'll see you guys next week. Bye.
Bye. Love you guys.